Hey everyone, Wolf Lord Rho here. Today we are discussing one of the most fate-changing moments in the history of the galaxy, as a Primarch is found. Spoiler warning to begin, the events we are discussing today are from the Horus Heresy novel Luthor, First of the Fallen, by Gav Thorpe. As always, I really recommend you read the novel for yourself first, as that's the best way to enjoy the lore for yourself. Not only that, we help to support the great Games Workshop and Black Library, because without them we don't have this amazing lore to talk about. I will put a link in the description as always. But with that said, let's just jump straight in. Okay, Luthor, arch-traitor and betrayer of Lion L. Johnson, the man who would cause the fall of the First Legion. But of course this was the future to come, and there was a time when Luthor was the sworn brother of the Dark Angel's Primarch. Now, during the course of the novel, Luthor is imprisoned within stasis in the depths of the rock, and we see him visited by successive Dark Angel Grand Masters, many of them interrogating Luthor for insight into the current situation regarding their hunt for the Fallen. Always they came, accompanied only by the Watchers in the dark, leading Luthor to believe he is held in secret, even from the other Dark Angels. And well, he's not wrong, as we know, only the Dark Angels Grand Masters knowing of Luthor's secret imprisonment. More often than not, when he was thrust back into stasis, only to be wrenched back out again, he was greeted by a new face, a new Grand Master, centuries having passed in his confinement. And so it was that eventually he was greeted by a Grand Master of the name Mordoran. And Mordoran makes the interesting decision to keep Luthor out of stasis for an extended period of time. And this isn't through any sense of sympathy, absolutely not. Luthor is nothing but a traitor, akin to the level of Horus himself in the eyes of the Dark Angels. Mordoran merely wishes to try and get more sense out of the raving lunatic Luthor has become, and keeping his mind out of stasis, for a time at least, may just accomplish that. And after 20 days or so, Luthor's mind for the most part begins to regain his composure, and the flashes of visions begin to subside. So it is then that Mordoran reveals the information he seeks, telling Luthor essentially he feels his visions are touched by other powers, essentially meaning the ruinous powers, and that sometimes you have to risk dangers to divine the truth. So to tell him of Cipher. Now Luthor begins by talking of the ceremonial role of the title, before mentioning the last he had heard of him was word he had been cornered by Corswain himself during the fateful battle for Caliban. Now of course this has given rise to the Corswain is Cipher theory, but it's one I personally hope doesn't come true. I'm definitely a fan of Corswain, and really just can't see him betraying his legion, and thus chapter. Corswain killing loyal Dark Angels just doesn't make much sense to me, and I certainly don't ever see him betraying his Primarch, which he absolutely would be, by siding with the Fallen. The Lion doesn't forgive, and he doesn't forget. Regardless, in revealing the Dark Angels are seeking Cipher, Luthor begins to relate a tale of his past. During one particularly harsh winter upon Caliban, Luther, having recently achieved the rank of sergeant, is dispatched by the Master of the Grand Order to protect the workers attempting to clear pathways through these harsh conditions. Caliban was a death world, at the best of times. Its forests were filled with monstrous great beasts, and in winters such as this, survival became even more perilous. And so it was on the 4th day of their expedition, events began to take a turn for the worst. Within the darkness of the forest, Luther and his patrol halt, something disturbing their mounts, essentially a more advanced Caliban version of horses, these animals capable of tracking prey. And it appears on this occasion they had caught a scent of some unseen danger. Drawing their bolt pistols, the knights turn about and head towards this unseen creature, following the scent back towards the direction of the workforce. They carry on for quite a distance, listening only to the sounds of the forest, wary of threat from every shadow, until a cacophony of sound bursts into life. Monstrous growls and flocks of birds take flight. Turning off their lights, the group head onwards. Through the darkness of the forest, the barest glimmer of sunlight breaking through the canopy. It's not long before they find signs of the disturbance. Tracks in the snow, accompanied by crimson stains of blood. It leads them, as expected, to a great beast, though this one appears to be dead. Its body lies still upon the floor, a single paw easily the size of Luther himself, and as Luther approaches, the beast's fate is clear. The pale fur around the throat and chest was matted with glistening red, and one side of the monster's face was sunken, as though it had been staved in by a smith's hammer or equally powerful blow. It's then that one of Luther's companions spots another set of tracks, and these ones are smaller, leading away from the monster's corpse, a few meters in distance before disappearing without a trace. And as the knights begin to scan the treetops, a rattle of panic-stricken bolter fire fills the air. A knight by the name of Egalade saw it, and the hunt begins in earnest. Luther, plunging through the trees atop his steed, switches his lamps on once more. Whatever this creature is, it's fast. However, a splash of red reveals it is also wounded. They continue to pursue the creature atop their steeds for over a kilometre further, before finally the wound takes its toll, and they close in on their prey, surrounding it against a large tree trunk. And it's here, unknowingly for the first time in his life, Luther lays eyes on the being that would become to be known as Lion L. Johnson. The first thing Luther notices is the thick, long blonde hair, before his eyes turn to the bloodied claws of his hand. And as the knights close in with bolters drawn, the unknown Primarch growls in reply. Eyes the colour of Caliban's forests regarded me from amid a grime-covered countenance, alert and full of intelligence. "Hold," I cried, sharper and swifter than any command I had given before. I could scarce believe what I witnessed, and dismounted to see better. As far as I could judge, the person was a little taller than myself, but other than the outstanding blonde mane, was bereft of hair, like an adolescent. I could tell, for he was fully naked, body as dirty as his face, the splash of fresh blood down his chest and along his arms from hands to elbows. Swallowing hard, I remembered that this person, if it was indeed a person, had attacked and slain the great beast we had found. Lion L. Johnson, the Primarch who survived alone, within the forests of a death world, filled with monsters of nightmare, had ascended to the top of the food chain. And he's not even fully grown. Here you see the beginning of the Primarch, who perhaps more than any other, was the master of the hunt. The Primarch, for all the knightly virtue and valour he would grow to adopt, has the instinctive nature of a predator. The years spent growing and surviving within this darkened forest moulded the nature of the Primarch more than any other, and they would be part of him forever. The group of knights begin to panic, calling the beast a Nephila, a Caliban term akin to demon. Luther reminding his compatriots that Nephila do not bleed, and this creature before them does. Somehow having not only survived a bolt round to the shoulder, but continued to evade his mounted pursuers for the kilometre chase after. All the while, as the knights continue to talk, the Primarch's eyes move from one to the other, watching them, assessing them. For all the knights' advantage here, you begin to wonder just who is the hunter and who is the prey. One of the knights, finally having enough, cries just to fill it with rounds and be done with it, as Luther again silences the others. "You're not going to attack, are you, Lion?" I said loudly. I am not sure why I gave him the name. It was a poor joke to settle my nerves. To find a person when we had been seeking a beast was most unsettling. And as you can imagine, I had no idea of the manner of person I had discovered. I laid down my pistol and chainsword and took a step forward. The youth tensed, but whether to attack or flee I did not know. Pain flared across his face as he moved his wounded arm. I fixed my eye upon his and slowly advanced, hands held out with palms down. I could feel the aim of my companions sighted upon the boy, but I trusted them not to shoot without my command. I hoped the youth made no movement though. In their state, the knights would surely have fought it an attack and opened fire. A very different future for Caliban and the Imperium had that happened. As it was, I came within arm's reach and leaned forward, brushing aside the hair so that the others could see what I could. "Look," I told them, "he is a man, not a beast." And that was how I found one of the Emperor's Primarchs. So there we have it, the fabled finding of the Emperor's first son, Lion L. Johnson, and indeed the circumstances in which he received his name. How different things could have unfolded had Luther not retained his composure. Could the lion have slain the knights, or would this wounded beast have been put down? It's an interesting glimpse into the early nature of the Primarch, because like I said, this animal instinct is one he would possess forevermore. The lion, as opposed to Russ, who wears the mask of a beast to hide the mind beneath, has the exterior of a knight, but the predatory nature of an animal within. And this is something you see highlighted in most stories regarding the lion. The way his eyes feel as if a hunter is looking at his prey. his aloof nature, and even in some earlier heresy novels, it's heavily told of his struggle to understand certain human behaviours. Though admittedly this does appear to have been toned down as the heresy series continued. And in speaking of Luther, while it is a testament to the measure of the man, in seeing the man beneath the beast here, you could also say there was always a small part of him that just couldn't move past the beast he found within the forest. The more the Primarch ascended, and Luther himself was moved to the shadows, the more the resentment grew at being overtaken by the beast he found as a child. Does it all boil down to simple jealousy, unknowingly spawned in this very moment? Or is the Luther we see here a genuine and true man? One who would go on to raise this Primarch as not only a substitute father, but to love him as a brother. As always guys, what do you think? Has this beast of the lion always been ingrained in his personality? Perhaps more so than any other, why do you feel the lion has struggled to make connections with his brothers? And as much as Luther may grow to regret this moment, how differently do you think the events could have been if the first Primarch had been slain in this moment? As always, leave your thoughts in the comments below, I love to read them. Huge thank you to all my subscribers, your support truly means a lot to me, it really does. And if you're new, please consider subscribing to help the channel grow. And if you enjoyed this particular vid, then why not drop a like on it too. But with that said, I am off, and I'll see you all again real soon.